All right. What's good, YouTube? What's going on? What's going on? We're about to get this thing kicked off, setting out these last minute reminders for everybody to tap in. But I hope you guys are having an amazing Sunday. Super excited, super grateful to be here with y'all. We are underway here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull up screen share, get this camera on, and get this kicked off. But let me see some energy in the chat box here as we get this thing started. Let me see some energy. All right, here we go. Boom, boom, boom. All right, we in business now. We got Bill in the building. We got Benjamin. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Well, first and foremost, again, hope you guys had an amazing weekend so far. We are officially kicking off a brand new week in the markets. So a lot of exciting stuff going on with various markets. Obviously, we focus on NASDAQ as far as a day trading approach, but we've seen crypto doing its thing right now. Seeing Bitcoin hitting all-time highs. Some of the other altcoins kind of following suit as well. So we can kind of glance over that as well since it's a hot topic and something that I do obviously step into the crypto space at the right times, I would say, from a long-term investor standpoint. So we got some stuff to talk about there as well. But let's see, we got Sam Santiago. We got Seb from Sweden. What's good? Team Digital Des Collins. What's good? I like the Liberty emojis too. I like it. I like it. Yeah, man. First and foremost, we just came back from ATL. So ATL was super, super, super dope. Got to see a lot of, the students out there that were able to make it out to that event. We had so many giveaways. Oh my God, I think we gave away, bro, we literally gave away like 8 funded accounts, I think. And it wasn't a bunch of 10K accounts. We gave away some like 50Ks, 25Ks, 100Ks, 200Ks. So shout out to TradeX, man. I'm not gonna lie. They definitely did not skimp out. Um, Man, let me tell you, like the venue was crazy. I don't know if y'all in the chat were actually in ATL. Any of you guys here were in ATL? We got Drew. What's up, Drew? Ricardo, saludos. ¿Cómo estamos, hermano? Million Bitcoin. Yeah, Bill, we could all use a Bitcoin getting to a milli for sure. We got Chris from Nueva York. What's up? But yeah, man, ATL again was super cool. I literally just flew in this morning. Um, we got to have some good eats out there as well. We had an Airbnb mastermind with a bunch of people. I mean, it was dope overall, honestly. I don't know if maybe on my photos you guys can see some of the stuff. Uh, nah, some of that's not uploaded yet. Uh, yeah, so you guys are gonna see some like content and stuff that I'll post from this weekend. Just like some little clips and stuff, but. Yeah, I even met some students that like went up to me and they're like, "Yo, bro, I trade Liberty and I got funded." So that's always super cool to see that like in person and feel that love. So the impact is definitely happening. And yeah, man, I just want to keep the train going as we step into a brand new month. Obviously, October just kind of kicked in a few days ago, and we're fresh off of a very interesting week as far as like the fundamentals side of things. We had government shutdowns that kind of injected a little bit of uncertainty in the market as far as like, hey, is NFP gonna still do what NFP usually does? Are we gonna get any type of volatility, random volatility? Like, what's gonna happen? And so again, like we had to definitely not really change our process. We just had to kind of expect the unexpected, I guess you could say a little bit more. Because we didn't have any actual financial news planned. Everything just showed as like tentative. If you look at Forex Factory, it was just tentative, tentative, tentative. So, I mean, from, heading into the next week as well, we have everything still tentative. If you notice, you'll see tentative here, tentative on unemployment claims, tentative on all this stuff. So, you know, we'll see how long the shutdown lasts. Volatility was obviously still there. People still gonna, move markets regardless. But yeah, just something to be mindful of. Obviously, we have FOMC this week, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So that's definitely gonna be interesting. I mean, we already came off of the last FOMC where we had the rate cut stuff. That pretty much happened as expected. And last FOMC was let me see. Was it this day? Yeah. FOMC last time we saw a lot of activity. Honestly, last FOMC really kind of shifted the markets to create new all-time highs and kind of really set the tone for where we're at now. So this was FOMC day. It was September 17th. So it's about like 3 weeks ago. And we saw price basically like spike up, have a huge push to the downside, and then we ended up closing higher. And then we kind of trickled into the rest of the week, and really the rest of the next like week and a half was just trending from there. So basically FOMC was that big manipulation in the markets to the downside, and then we shifted making new all-time highs. Since then, we've kind of, been back and forth, as you can see. And yeah, we're fresh off of a bearish day from Friday with NFP. Again, we didn't really have like the full NFP schedule and all that stuff because of the shutdowns, but all in all, like the general, ideal entries as well as ideal targets were hit to the T. So for the people that may not be in Akashics, I'm sure most of you guys probably are. Um, I dropped these, what's it called, projections on me on the exclusive, Telegram group for all of the actual paid members that are a part of Akashics. And on here, if we actually kind of go back, so I was obviously that was a day that I was flying out to Los Angeles. Lord have mercy, one time to Los Angeles, to Atlanta. So we can see here, I sent this out. I usually sent it the night before. I sent this like basically morning of 8 a.m. I was like, yo, um, you know, tentative NFP, but overall we should be pushing down to these fair value gaps that we left behind from the previous days. And yeah, so ideal entries at above Asia high for sells. And that's really where I expected the targets to be, around that 24,750 area based off this chart. So yeah, that was it. And then we started seeing again that nice movement. And then we ended up continuing throughout the day until basically we ended up tapping right to that fair value gap. So for the people that understand my trading models and what I teach on Akashics, um, again, we had ideal entries selling above Asia high, and then we had other secondary entries below Asia low. So regardless if you were selling from here, kind of catching things early, or if you waited for like post 9:30 open, 9:30 open price, we saw that was super nice, super respected. Price pops up, drops, makes a little bit of a retest, and then we end up breaking below the low. And yeah, basically ran straight to that fair value gap. So Friday we had it completely scoped out. Obviously, you're gonna have pullbacks and things of that nature along the way, but basically from start to finish of where you saw that analysis breaking through here all the way until the finish line right here. Very textbook beautiful. And now we're here. So obviously I'm going to be breaking down like what I see heading into tomorrow. What are some sensitive areas where I expect things to go, etc. And yeah, just kind of set the tone for the week. All right, so we're about to get into that right now. Let me just check the chat here real quick. We got Felix from New Zealand. What's up? We got Lisa. So I saw Lisa at the event. So Lisa, I did see an ATL. Super, super Good seeing you there, Lisa. Always having good energy. Lisa's like super active in the chats always as well in Akashik. So much love to Lisa. Um, but yeah, let's get straight into like what I see for now. Um, so we've gotten a very like aggressive opening candle. And I kind of like the fact that we switched the market outlooks to 6 p.m. Eastern, like right when the market opens, because we can actually see some charting action starting to take place. Instead of like having that stuck market when we used to do it a little bit earlier. And yeah, we see that this initial candle just kind of popped us up. Now, when we do get that already, I'm already thinking bias of selling because this is an inefficiency in itself. Usually a candlestick for me to consider it like a healthy candlestick, you want to see price like open and you want to see it like, let's say it ends up closing higher. I want to see price wick down and then we form our body, right? And then we form a wick and then the candle closes. If we got a candle like that, then, I consider it healthy, and then I don't have really much to go off of unless I kind of like let price continue to develop or whatever. But whenever we get price like opening, like as soon as Sunday, market open hits, we just have a candle that pops up. Whoops. A candle that just like pops up and we have no wick at all. Like we just have a flat bottom candle. Already, I see that price just had straight buyers just pushing the market. And for me, that's kind of like I treat it like a fair value gap. I treat that like an inefficiency where um it just for me it's like a form of manipulation. Like price didn't even have any testing to the downside or nothing. It just literally just straight pops up. So we're seeing this 4 hour candle forming obviously now. This will be the candle from 6 to 10. Um And honestly, ideally, I want to see this actually just continue to push higher as much as possible because I already have this as a target. Now, I wouldn't say to sell right now, okay? I wouldn't say to sell right now, but already I'm already looking at selling at some point, and this would be my first like target as far as like exiting the position. Um, this fair value gap that we had here on the 2 hour time frame and some of the other higher time frames as well was where I was looking for price to get down to from all the way up here. If we kind of zoom out to a 2 hour time frame, we can see this fair value gap that I'm talking about right here. So I like seeing high time frame fair value gaps a lot simply because I know that price will gravitate towards them very aggressively at some point. And so if we're like very far removed from that fair value gap, like up here, for example, I already know the first signs that we start seeing like, bearish price action or like sellers starting to kick in, that to at least have a swing target, I can know that I can confidently hold trades usually to those fair value gaps. Once we kind of like rebalance and tap into them, now, I can still see a world where we do come back down and fill some more of that gap because we really just kind of like touched it and left. Usually I like to see price kind of fill it a little bit more. We didn't really quite get a strong fill at all. We just basically like touched the edge of it and seen a nice push away now. Um, so if we drop down to like a 1 hour, for example, you'll see like more refined fair value gaps on like, smaller time frames as you go. So like this one, and price has not revisited this one. So again, like anything that's a higher time frame, like 1 hour plus, but especially like above 1 hour, especially those are super important for me. So again, like this one, we've already kind of mitigated. So this would be the next one that we haven't really touched into, right? So you can see we basically, I'm gonna just extend these out for simplicity purposes here. Fair value gaps, and we're going to extend this out. A little bit more. There we oh, well, that's a lot. Okay. So you can see how, for example, on the downside where we had these right here, you see price touch this one, touch this one, touch this one, and now we've pushed away, right? Now we're about to touch, we're already starting to head into this one. Okay. So that's going to be very sensitive here. But if you notice, we have like this one here, we still have this one down here. So those are like fair value gaps that are left behind that haven't really been mitigated yet or like rebalanced there yet. So, I'm looking for the major ones, like the ones that for me look very obvious. And so this one's, it stands out a lot to me. So we're gonna go ahead and fix this and put this back to 0. Was it at 0 or 1? Probably at 1. Is it at 0? Oh yeah, it's probably at 0. All right. So yeah, basically our next, fair value gap that is significant enough for me to really like pay attention to it is the 1 hour time frame, this one right here. All right. So I'll keep an eye on this. And then obviously again, we are tapping into this one on the sell side. So this is a bearish fair value gap, and then the ones that we're targeting are the bullish fair value gaps. The difference is simply that, this was a bearish candle or a candle that goes down that created that fair value gap. So that's a bearish fair value gap that we're looking at. The ones that we're targeting are, well, this one that was created from a bullish candle. So these are bullish fair value gaps. All right. So yeah, basically I expect price to kind of, again, I want to see this actually come in even further and then end up coming up back around. And the same way that I see, for example, like this flat candle that we see from the 6 p.m. open right here, we actually have some flat candles that were left behind during that drop on NFP day on Friday. Just on the opposite side. So you can see like these two candles right here. These right here. So this one and this one. So those two candles, you can see that they're like flat. They don't have any wicks. So that just shows the amount of like selling power that kind of came in during those two 15-minute candles. And those for me are very sensitive prices because again, I look at it as an inefficiency, right? So again, that fair value gap that we have this big square on, it's on the 1 hour time frame, but as you go down in time frames, you can refine that more and more. So usually like for long-term targets, I like to look at the higher ones, but if we want to get entries or like very specific, yeah, just like entries or like precise zones, we look at like smaller time frames, maybe a 30-minute, 15-minute. Once we get to 5, I feel like that's very small, but I do like 15 and 30-minute, especially if we're looking at trying to be very precise. So again, on the 1 hour, you'll see a much bigger gap. And then if we drop to a 30, you're going to see a different one. And then if we drop to a 15-minute, you'll see a different one. And then a 5-minute, you'll see even some more here, right? So basically, like all these candles that we saw prior, they have like a little wick, wick. All of these have wicks, but notice this candle right here is just flat. It has like no wick at all. Right? So when I see that, I already look at that as like a very precise inefficiency that I can look to target. You can also see one right here, right? So basically anywhere, now I'm referring to this specific chart. If you're on like a different broker or different prop firm or whatever, when you analyze the market, you're gonna look at different prices on your chart. But regardless, on like a 5-minute, 15-minute, you should most likely be able to see these flat candles as well. And so basically like anywhere from this one and ideally this one, I would like to see price get there, because if it does, then I feel like the fact that we started off the week just pushing very aggressively without any like clean candles being printed, like the same way that I'm looking at these as being inefficient, I'm seeing inefficiency on the opposite side as well. So if I can get price to pop up to here, most likely like, or most ideally over here, and sell from there, because we're gonna get reactions. Like once we tap one of these, you're gonna see price react pretty aggressively, most likely. I feel like those are good sell areas. and then we can look to target the other inefficiency. So that's really all I look for as far as concepts on a chart, as far as like where I expect price to go to and react from. It's always going to be based on liquidity or rebalancing price, fair value gaps and liquidity. What I teach on the platform a lot is session liquidity. So all of my entries and like zones for entering trades are very primarily like centered around what happens with Asia, and then looking for entries around there. Um, and then looking at where those fair value gaps are, where is there like areas of liquidity to target, etc. So again, for me, these flat bottom candles or flat top candles, they're like an extension or like a different form of like a fair value gap. And maybe some people teach that. Honestly, I haven't really seen many people talk about that, but it's definitely a thing. I don't know how else to explain it, but a lot of times if you have those flat bottom or flat top candles, you'll see price like hunt it and then reverse off of it many times. Like a good example, I can show you a couple honestly. Is like in this situation where we could kind of see like this candle here had a flat top and we saw price basically like liquidity grab above it and then it dropped. Now obviously that's a very short-term move, but it's those little things that I've noticed. I can probably go back and back and back and show you other examples, but um yeah, just keep in mind that for me it's like a form of inefficiency that at some point I want to see price kind of like hit it. Like if I even turn this off, you'll see like when we had this one right here, price will like go for it just like that. And then you get a really crazy reaction off of it. So it's not like some hidden gem or like some weird phenomenon. I just think it's like a form of inefficiency, like a form of a fair value gap in a way. Um, and yeah, whenever I see that, especially like around fair value gaps in themselves, then it just gives me more reason to kind of anticipate price to want to get there. So again, we see two that are relatively close to each other. This one that kind of creates this 15-minute fair value gap, and then the end of that candle, which is this one. So basically, these two candles were very, very inefficient. So if we're gonna have price spike like this, ideally, I want to see it just keep going as much as possible because I already know that this weekly open didn't really create an efficient price either. And that can maybe position ourselves to go and sell and catch a move like this. And overall, we have a bearish structure, like we moved up, but once we moved up, we really just took liquidity and we shifted downwards, tried pulling back, shifted downwards. Now for me, this is just a big pullback. So if we can pull back, deep into this zone and look for sells off there, then that's what I want to do. So yeah, we'll see. If you are in a Koschex, maybe I'll send an alert. I usually don't send alerts on Sunday nights, but if I ever do, which is not many times, it's usually because of this exact thing where I see a really big inefficiency at 6 p.m. open. And then I'm just like, oh, okay, like all we gotta do is just be patient to like actually wait for it to kind of run out of gas in that direction. Because this pop-up that it's doing, it's looking for something specific, like price is popping up very specific. And I feel like it's just looking for something, like whether it's an inefficiency, and we spot them here. So that's my ideal. If we even like pull up, let's say like a fib, like a Fibonacci from this high to this low, basically this whole drop off from start to finish. So if we look at that whole drop, the drop really started from here and it ended right here. Okay, so if I pull up, like a fib extension, so we can see, what those retracements would look like. Yeah, we can kind of see those inefficiencies here are between that 62 to 78 area, more or less. That's really like where I would want to sell from. Like if I were to trade, I don't really trade Fibonacci as like my strategy or anything, but to understand how deep a retracement is, if I can get anything above 60 to 70 something percent in that general vicinity, that's usually a very nice retracement for a good entry. If I were to like try to, sell a 50% pullback or like a 38% pullback, I feel like those are very weak pullbacks. But if we can like do a pullback that's more than halfway of the move, deep up into like those, higher levels, that's guaranteeing me more of a really good entry than trying to just sell already. Because again, I already have a lot of confidence that we're going to come back to where price opened today. But if I jump in now, I might have to go and sit and draw down as price kind of inches towards maybe these inefficiencies, and then later it turns around. But if I can avoid being in drawdown, that's like less stress, less stuff I gotta kind of sit through. And then also I get a lot more risk to reward, obviously, for the better entry that I get. So just kind of looking at it over the top right now, if I were to sell, let's say this inefficiency right here. This would be like my super sniper ideal entry. I can put, let's see, a 30-point stop. I feel like a 30-point stop is valid, honestly. And then targeting here would be over a 4-to-1. If I were to use a 50-point stop, because it's not really my signature strategy and I wanted the extra room, it's still pushing like 2.7, which is not bad. And it could go lower at that point, but I'm just looking at like precise areas right now, like these inefficiencies. So whether I use a 30 or 50-point stop, I feel like, again, selling up in this pullback area where these inefficiencies are would be a good plan. And we can look to get at least double or more. For me, that's a successful trade. Twice my risk or more. So yeah, that's kind of my game plan heading into the start of the week. Okay. Let me check the chat here. Ah, Lisa, thank you so much, man. Lisa always be donating on YouTube. I appreciate that so much for the super chat. Thank you so much. You are the best. You are the best for real. Um, cool. So yeah, if you guys have questions, if you guys have anything that you wanted me to kind of look at specifically, let me know. But for the most part, this is kind of like giving us a good idea for the day. If you're in a cost checks, I will send like projections and some stuff like that overnight. If we don't actually get a trade alert, because right now I feel like what's it called? I feel like we could get a trade today, which I don't usually do on Sundays, but I like this so far. Let's see if price wants to behave. I did mention some crypto stuff as well. That'll be pretty simple, pretty quick. But if you guys haven't been paying attention to crypto, we have had some, really strong rallies as far as Bitcoin goes, hitting new all-time highs in the market. So we've been pushing above, that 123 that we've been sitting at, 124. And yeah, I mean, we have a lot of inefficiencies that were created as well, like a lot of fair value gap stuff going on here. So at some point, price, should be bearish on Bitcoin short term. But definitely, I think last week the candle ended up closing pretty strong on the bullish side. So we still have some time for this weekly to close, but all in all, it's gonna look like the weekly is gonna close bullish. I do at some point though, I'm not gonna lie, like I do expect Bitcoin to come back down to the 90 below, you know, because Bitcoin has always had its flows. So at some point, I feel like we will get those retracements, but for now, it's pumping. XRP, I'm literally on the. I'm never gonna say anything else except what I've been saying forever, and it just hasn't happened yet, which is XRP going to $1. That is like one altcoin that I have made money from already. Like I've gotten in at 50 cents. I ended up cashing out a little bit early. I cashed out like at 265 around here, and then price ended up pushing to like 3 something, came back, pushed to like 370. So, I could have squeezed the top a little bit more maybe, but I mean, 50 cents to like 260 is not a bad flip. Personally, I think that's great. If you're trading meme coins and doing rug pulls and all type of stuff, then obviously it's It's not a big deal to catch a 5x. But I don't know if I can make triple, quadruple, 5x my money on an investment, like that's a good investment. So I'll be looking to do the same again on XRP once it dips below $1 to tap into this weekly fair value gap. I know people that love crypto, love all that stuff. They're gonna be like, nah, there's no way. I mean, that's cool. Like, I respect everybody's analysis. I don't really care to like say who's right or wrong. I just stick to my plan because I've been seeing crypto since 2018. I've helped my family make money just by literally looking at higher time frame fair value gaps. I can go example by example on like monthly time frames, not even like daily or anything, like just literally monthly time frames. We had Bitcoin basically like I mean, I got started in 2018 in September. So my trading journey started here. So when I started, Bitcoin was like at 6K and I saw it drop to like 35, 4,000. And then we had price kind of like kick up during COVID, right? And then or like pre-COVID. And then once COVID hit, it dropped right back down to 4K. And I remember um when COVID was hitting, I remember I was driving at night to go get pizza. Like I know the exact pizza shop, I know everything. And if I want you to look at this, right? Like, look at what I'm trying to tell you. These flat bottom candles that we're printing here, you can see a flat bottom candle here, and there was another one right here. Like, price literally like took out that inefficiency, and that was the last run from COVID from like four all the way to like 65K. Like literally off of that all the way up. So smart money when it comes to like fair value gaps, liquidity grabbing, all that stuff, it's very real and it happens across all markets. So, positioning ourselves in those fair value gaps on the monthly time frame, amazing entries. What was terrible about that was like, dude, we were trying to buy a bunch of Bitcoin when we had that wick. And literally, I remember Coinbase, like they stopped all transactions for a while because there was so much like transacting happening here during this like collapse that I remember like it shut down the exchange. Like I don't know if other exchanges had the same thing happen, but I think like I know for sure Coinbase because I lived it, and maybe some other ones like it was going haywire. Like it was crazy. You couldn't even touch anything there. So that was one example, and then this I remember like Bitcoin at 60 something in 2021. At that point, I had already been like 2, 3 years into trading, and I had already started learning about smart money in the middle of COVID, like 2020. So by 2021, heading into like, yeah, 2021, 2022, I already knew like liquidity for value gaps, all that stuff. So, I was like, yo, we need to exit these positions. We're at all-time highs. Like Bitcoin's got a lot of inefficiencies down here. At some point, we're gonna have to rebalance, blah, blah, blah. And so I had to really like basically damn near force my dad to get out of Bitcoin position because he wouldn't listen to me. And I was like, bro, just get out. And he actually listened and he, cashed out and then we saw price drop off for like a whole year. Um, and then yeah, basically we saw like, these fair value gaps that were left here. This is all monthly time frames. So you had plenty of time to like prepare and look for it. And I was like, yo, I wish I could have actually I do have screenshots. I have screenshots of all of it. Where I'm like, yo, 15K Bitcoin, 15K Bitcoin. And I was saying 15K Bitcoin from like 60, you know? And it's not like to make me sound like I know everything or like I'm a wizard. It's just like I trust these concepts so much because I've just seen them happen across all markets. So for me, people ask me like, "Oh, what do you think of Bitcoin?" I'm like, "Dude, we swept highs, price is dropping." I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna come rebalance at 15 to 20K." And they're like, "You think so?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin does these 80% drops, 70% drops, like from here to here, it was a 77% retracement. Bitcoin has had crazy retracement. And then yeah, basically 15, 16K, price bottomed out and that was the low to basically take us to literally where we're at right now, you know. So there's other inefficiencies that are like here. Obviously I'm not gonna sit here and say that necessarily we're gonna have price come all the way down to 35 again. It's possible, I think that I don't know if it'll do that. There's just so much big money involved in crypto now that I don't have that same level of certainty to see that big of a drop off anymore. But it's not off the table. But I think at a minimum, the price can get down to, you know, a 30% retracement or something like that, I think is very realistic. So we'll see how much this keeps pushing now, but like let's assume that we just took out this high and price drops. You know, heading into like the mid 80s or whatever, like this is a 30% drop. I think that's not too far-fetched to believe. So you know when that starts to happen, that's probably when XRP would have its drop too. You know, we'll see. But this same like little pattern that we saw Bitcoin do here, you know, where price kind of rallies, makes a high, has a short drop off, and price, you know, has like a liquidity grab. I feel like this same type of scenario here is what I'm waiting for now on XRP, where price kind of like sweeps the high after a drop off, and now we have kind of like a big move down here, and then from there we can go and make a rally again. So I don't know. That's just kind of like my outlook for XRP. There's many other coins and many other things. Like I always say, look, we have Zeus on Akashex, Armin T, that's my guy. Anything crypto, like I submit, you know, I let the expert be the expert in those specific fields. So I'll like put my analysis into cryptos for like long-term plays on more stable coins. Um, I don't do like futures or anything like that for crypto, but yeah, dude, I mean XRP is a play, and anything like ETH, Solana, Bitcoin, XRP, like those are all coins that if you just like time yourself correctly, you can really like put your money to work there. I still think we can get something similar that I'm waiting for on XRP to happen here. Like I feel like there's a lot of inefficiencies, stuff going on with Solana as well. You know, people don't want to hear that, but I just see like these monthly inefficiencies all the way down here below like $60. And you know, people that are making money right now don't want to hear that, but I really hope I'm right on that because I will be more than happy to acquire some Solana under $70. So Solana and XRP are definitely like up there for me, but I'm being very patient with that pullback. And some people might tell me it's not never gonna happen, but I've heard that before. So we'll see. Bitcoin jumping in October. Yeah, yeah, yeah. October is definitely a month for that for sure. All right. Well, I think we kind of covered basically everything that I really wanted to talk about with you guys here today. So yeah, just keep in mind for NAS, you know, I do want to see us hopefully come a little bit deeper into these retracement areas for sells. You know, if we can get that, I'll be more than happy to take sells. Personally, I wouldn't want to sell right now, even though it could start selling off now, to be honest, like it could. Um, but I don't know. Like I have my eyes very set on these specific areas. So if I hit those areas, you know, I'm willing to short off of those, but I wouldn't want to pull the trigger on it now personally. And let's say price ends up dropping off for whatever reason before we get to those inefficiencies that I have up here, then that just tells me that I'm probably going to shift my bias a little bit bullish then heading into tomorrow. So like if price ends up dropping now and hitting this and kind of like respecting all of this, then I'll be probably looking for buys to take me up to those inefficiencies because at some point we got to get there. So either we're going to go there now and then we'll sell it, or we don't get there yet, price drops off again, and I look for buys to take us up to those inefficiencies. So I just know those are going to be my magnets for where I want to see price get to. And if we get there early, I'll sell off of it. If it doesn't do it now, then I'll just buy into it. But those are going to be my points of interest for sure. And we'll take it from there. So yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna head up out of here. Tomorrow we have our sessions in Spanish at 11 a.m. Eastern. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays when we go live in English. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be cool. If you guys aren't in the new boot camp blueprint focus group that we created after our boot camp, If you are in Akashics, you know, you don't need the group, but I think it's gonna be a really great space to have more conversation. Like we have an open trading chat in there. Um, you know, we're kind of just having like a really intense focus on that group to document the next 90 days. Well, basically from October to December, the end of September. 90 days worth of like, you know, a case study, I guess you can kind of say, with everybody in there. We've already had somebody get funded. We've had a payout already in there in the first week. I met somebody at the event that got funded, but I don't think they're on this chat. But yeah, we're gonna be gathering all that data because we really want to have like more boot camps that come in every like quarter. You know, like every 3 months we want to try to run like a new boot camp just to kind of like keep it fresh, keep it exciting, and then kind of reinstate the focus and really just kind of like, you know, lock in with you guys. So I'll see you guys on there. Appreciate y'all for being on the YouTube live today. I do these for free on Sundays for people that may or may not be in Akasha, just to kind of get a feel for what I talk about, what we do. But obviously, the real value is when you have access to Akashics with the pre-recorded content, the live sessions, the trade alerts, live trades, all that stuff. If you guys are in Akashics, you know what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, guys, I'm gonna let y'all go. Hope you have an amazing week heading into this October month, and I will see you guys there. All right, much love.